Physiological processes. One major function of the cell membrane is to control the movement of substances in and out of the cell. The movement of materials across the cell membrane is facilitated by physiological processes. The physiological processes involved in the movement of materials across the cell membrane are diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Diffusion. Particles in a gas or a liquid are constantly moving freely, bumping into each other and bouncing off randomly. As this occurs, the molecules move from a region where they are at a high concentration to a region where they are at a low concentration. This results in the particles being evenly spread out in the space available. For example, when a perfume bottle is opened in a room, after some time the scent is detected everywhere in the room. This is because the perfume molecules move from the bottle where they are highly concentrated into the air within the room. The movement continues until the perfume molecules are evenly distributed in the air. The process by which the perfume molecules, particles, move is known as diffusion. Therefore, diffusion can be defined as the process by which molecules move from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. For example, the scent of a flower experienced by an individual is as a result of diffusion of particles of the scent from the source. To learn more about diffusion, let us observe the following experiments. In the first experiment, a glass tubing is held vertically in a beaker so that one end of the tubing rests flat on the bottom of the beaker as shown. A crystal of potassium manganate 7 is dropped through the upper opening of the glass tubing. The upper end of the glass tubing is closed with a thumb. The beaker is then half filled with water as shown. The glass tubing is then withdrawn vertically so that the crystal is left undisturbed at the bottom of the beaker. The observations are made after 15 minutes. After some time, the potassium manganate 7, which is purple in color, spreads throughout the water, and eventually all the water turns purple. The explanation for this observation is that in the crystals, the particles of potassium manganate 7 are very concentrated. The potassium manganate 7 particles break away from the crystals, dissolve in water, and then diffuse through the water until they are evenly distributed. The difference in concentration of molecules between the regions of low concentration and the region of high concentration is known as a concentration or diffusion gradient. Diffusion is a passive process and will only take place whenever there is a concentration gradient. In another experiment, a whisking tubing is tied on one end with a thread as shown. A starch solution is poured into the whisking tubing to 3/4 full and the open end of the whisking tubing is tied. The color of the starch solution is noted. The whisking tubing is immersed in a beaker containing iodine solution. The whisking tubing is then removed from the beaker and the following observations are made. The contents of the whisking tubing turn blue-black. The contents of the beaker remained brown. This is because the wall of the whisking tubing is semipermeable, thus it allowed the small iodine molecules to move from the beaker into the tubing, where they reacted with starch to form a complex compound, and hence the blue-black color. On the other hand, starch molecules are too large to move out of the tubing into the beaker. Factors affecting diffusion. Diffusion gradient. The greater the diffusion gradient between 2 points, the higher the rate of diffusion. Therefore, increasing the concentration of diffusing molecules at one of the points increases the diffusion gradient, and hence an increase in the rate of diffusion. Thickness of tissues. The thicker the membrane or tissue, the lower the rate of diffusion. This is because the distance to be covered by the diffusing molecules is greater. However, if the membrane is thinner, the rate of diffusion is higher. Size of molecules. Small and light molecules diffuse faster than large and heavy molecules. Temperature. An increase in temperature increases the energy content in molecules, and this causes them to move faster. Hence, an increase in temperature causes an increase in the rate of diffusion. A decrease in temperature causes a decrease in the rate of diffusion. Type of medium. Diffusion takes place in gases and in liquids and not in solids. Diffusion is faster in gases than liquids. Surface area. The larger the surface area over which diffusion takes place, the higher the rate of diffusion. Surface area to volume ratio. The rate of diffusion in and out of a body depends on surface area to volume ratio. The higher the ratio, the greater the rate of diffusion. The lower the ratio, the lower the rate of diffusion. This implies that small organisms expose a large surface area to the surrounding when compared to big organisms. Therefore, small organisms depend on diffusion as a means of transport of foods, respiratory gases, and waste products. Large organisms, in addition to diffusion, have transport system to increase the efficiency of diffusion. Role of diffusion in living organisms. Absorption of materials. In plants, the roots hair cell take up mineral salts from the soil and water by diffusion. This process takes place when the concentration of ions is higher in the soil water than in the root hair cells. In some animals, digested foods, for example, amino acids and glucose, move across the thin wall of the ileum by diffusion into the bloodstream for transport to other parts of the animal's body. Gaseous exchange in plants and animals. Plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen in the presence of sunlight during photosynthesis. Some of the oxygen is used in respiration and the excess diffuses out into the atmosphere. At night only respiration takes place and, therefore, plants take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide as waste product. These gases pass in and out of plants through stomata in leaves and lenticels in stems by diffusion. In animals, several structures are used as surfaces for gaseous exchange by diffusion. These structures provide suitable respiratory surfaces that have large surface area for efficient gaseous exchange. Examples of these structures are gills, skin, tracheal system, and lungs. Diffusion facilitates the removal of nitrogenous wastes in some freshwater unicellular organisms. Example: amoeba. Diffusion is also involved in the transport of manufactured food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Thank you for watching this biology lesson. Please subscribe to this channel and other Genius channels relevant to your level of study.